Good morning, one and all. With President's permission, we would like to start today's program by our University song. I request all the audience to rise for the University song.
ಹಸಿರೆ ಕರೆವ ಉಸಿರೆ ಹರಿವ ನೀರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೃಷಿ ಮಾತೆ ಧಾರವಾಡ ಕೃಷಿ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯ ಸಸ್ಯ ಕಾಶಿ ಗೀತೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೃಷಿ ಮಾತೆಯೇ ಸಸ್ಯ ಕಾಶಿ ಗೀತೆಯೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೃಷಿ ಮಾತೆಯೇ ಸಸ್ಯ ಕಾಶಿ ಗೀತೆಯೇ ವರ್ಣಗಳ ಶ್ಯಾಮಲೆ ದೇವಕಹಿ ಪೇಡೆ ಸಿಹಿ ಸಾಹಿತ್ಯ ಸಂಗೀತ ಶ್ಯಾಮಲೆ
ಎರೆ ಮಣ್ಣು ಮಣಿ ಮಣ್ಣು ಒಣ ಬೇಸಾಯದಿ ಮಾಗಿದ ಹಣ್ಣು ಬಯಲ ನಾಡು ಬೆಳವಲ ಬೀಡು ಘಟ್ಟದಡಿ ಹುಡಿ ಮಣ್ಣು
ಕಾದ ಬಿಸಿಲು ಸುರಿವ ಮಳೆ ದೇವಗೊಂಡ ಚಳಿಯ ದಿಗಿಲು ತೇಗ ಹೊಂಗೆ ಹುಣಸೆ ಜಾಲಿ ಬಿದಿರು ಬೆಳೆ ಕಂಡು ಮುಗಿಲು
ನೆಲವ ಹರಗಿ ಹೆಂಟೆ ಕರಗಿ ಕಪ್ಪು ಸಾಲು ಹಬ್ಬಿ ಹೊನ್ನ ಬೆಳೆ
ಕಾಳು ಬೇಳೆ ಬೆಲ್ಲ ತೈಲ ಸೊಪ್ಪು ಸೆದೆ ಸಿರಿಧಾನ್ಯ ತುಂಬಿದಿಳೆ
ಹಾಲು ಹೈನು ಕಾಡು ಜೇನು ಜೋಳ ಮೆಕ್ಕೆಜೋಳ ಗೋಧಿ ಹಲಸು ಮೆಣಸು ಕಡಲೆ ಹತ್ತಿ ಆಟ ಪಾಠ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣಾದಿ
ತೆಂಗು ಮಾವು ಚಿಕ್ಕು ಪೇರಲ ನೇಯ್ದ ನೂಲ ಧ್ವಜವೇ ಅಗ್ರಜ ಜೀವನದಿ ಸಾಗಲಿ ಪ್ರಗತಿ ಪತಾಕೆಯ ದಿಗ್ಗಜ ಹರೆಯ ಹಸಿರೆ ಕರೆವ ಉಸಿರೆ ಹರಿವ ನೀರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೃಷಿ ಮಾತೆ ಧಾರವಾಡ ಕೃಷಿ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯ ಸಸ್ಯ ಕಾಶಿ ಗೀತೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೃಷಿ ಮಾತೆಯೇ ಸಸ್ಯ ಕಾಶಿ ಗೀತೆಯೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೃಷಿ ಮಾತೆಯೇ ಸಸ್ಯ ಕಾಶಿ ಗೀತೆಯೇ
Thank you, one and all. I invite the distinguished guest to grace the stage. I request Dr. S.S. Hallikeri sir to accompany the dignitaries to the dais. Our Honorable Vice Chancellor and President of SV Patil Foundation could not make for this function due to another official program, that's Vice Chancellor's Meet. So today's presidentship graced by Vice President of Dr. SV Patil Foundation as Dean Agriculture and Campus Head Dr. H.B. Badlat sir. University of Agriculture Sciences, Dharwad, College of Agriculture, Dharwad, and Dr. S.V. Patil Foundation and Chair for Research, Training, and Farmers' Welfare has been organized second Foundation Day lecture in commemoration of late Dr. S.V. Patil sir's birthday, who lived with Gandhian philosophy, that is simple living and high thinking. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೆರೆದಿರುವ ಎಲ್ಲ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಎಸ್ ವಿ ಪಾಟೀಲ್ ಸರ್ ಅಭಿಮಾನಿ ಬಳಗಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಸುರೇಖ ಸಂಕನಗೌಡ ಮಾಡುವ ಶರಣಾರ್ಥಿ. According to our custom, God's blessing is the prime mantra for every program. Now I invite Shri B.N. Pujar, staff of our university, for invocation song.
ನಮ್ಮಮ್ಮ ಶಾರದೆ ಉಮಾ ಮಹೇಶ್ವರಿ ನಿಮ್ಮೊಳಗಿಹ ನಾರಮ್ಮ. ನಮ್ಮಮ್ಮ ಶಾರದೆ ಉಮಾ ಮಹೇಶ್ವರಿ ನಿಮ್ಮೊಳಗಿಹ ನಾರಮ್ಮ. ಕಮ್ಮಗೋಲನ ವೈರಿ ಸುತನಾದ ಸೊಂಡಿಲ ಹೆಮ್ಮೆಯ ಗಣನಾಥನೇ ಕಾಣಮ್ಮ. ನಮ್ಮಮ್ಮ ಶಾರದೆ ಉಮಾ ಮಹೇಶ್ವರಿ ನಿಮ್ಮೊಳಗಿಹ ನಾರಮ್ಮ. ನಮ್ಮಮ್ಮ ಶಾರದೆ ಉಮಾ ಮಹೇಶ್ವರಿ ನಿಮ್ಮೊಳಗಿಹ ನಾರಮ್ಮ. ಮೋರೆ ಕಪ್ಪಿನ ಭಾವ ಮೊರದಗಲದ ಕಿವಿ ಕೋರಿದಾಡೆಯ ನಾರಮ್ಮ. ಮೋರೆ ಕಪ್ಪಿನ ಭಾವ ಮೊರದಗಲದ ಕಿವಿ ಕೋರಿದಾಡೆಯ ನಾರಮ್ಮ. ಮೂರು ಕಣ್ಣನ ಸೂತ ಮುಡಿದಿಟ್ಟ ಚಂದ್ರನ, ಮೂರು ಕಣ್ಣನ ಸೂತ ಮುಡಿದಿಟ್ಟ ಚಂದ್ರನ ಧೀರತ ಗಣನಾಥನೇ ಕಾಣಮ್ಮ. ನಮ್ಮಮ್ಮ ಶಾರದೆ ಉಮಾ ಮಹೇಶ್ವರಿ ನಿಮ್ಮೊಳಗಿಹ ನಾರಮ್ಮ. ಉಟ್ಟದಟ್ಟಿಯು ಪಿಡಿದುಟ್ಟ ಚಲ್ಲಣದ ದಿಟ್ಟತ ನಿಬನಾರಮ್ಮ. ಉಟ್ಟದಟ್ಟಿಯು ಪಿಡಿದುಟ್ಟ ಚಲ್ಲಣದ ದಿಟ್ಟತ ನಿಬನಾರಮ್ಮ. ಪಟ್ಟದ ರಾಣಿ ಪಾರ್ವತಿಯ ಕುಮಾರನು ಪಟ್ಟದ ರಾಣಿ ಪಾರ್ವತಿಯ ಕುಮಾರನು ಹೊಟ್ಟೆಯ ಗಣನಾಥನೇ ಅಮ್ಮಯ್ಯ. ನಮ್ಮಮ್ಮ ಶಾರದೆ ಉಮಾ ಮಹೇಶ್ವರಿ ನಿಮ್ಮೊಳಗಿಹ ನಾರಮ್ಮ. ನಮ್ಮಮ್ಮ ಶಾರದೆ ಉಮಾ ಮಹೇಶ್ವರಿ ನಿಮ್ಮೊಳಗಿಹ ನಾರಮ್ಮ. ರಾಶಿ ವಿದ್ಯೆಯ ಬಲ್ಲ ರಮಣಿ ಹಂಬಲನೊಲ್ಲ ಭಾಷಿಗ ನಿಬನಾರಮ್ಮ. ರಾಶಿ ವಿದ್ಯೆಯ ಬಲ್ಲ ರಮಣಿ ಹಂಬಲನೊಲ್ಲ ಭಾಷಿಗ ನಿಬನಾರಮ್ಮ. ಲೇಸಾಗಿ ಜನರ ಸಲಹುವಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ನೆಲೆಯಾದಿ ಲೇಸಾಗಿ ಜನರ ಸಲಹುವಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ನೆಲೆಯಾದಿ ಕೇಶವದಾಸ ಕಣೆ ಅಮ್ಮಯ್ಯ. ನಮ್ಮಮ್ಮ ಶಾರದೆ ಉಮಾ ಮಹೇಶ್ವರಿ ನಿಮ್ಮೊಳಗಿಹ ನಾರಮ್ಮ. ಕಮ್ಮಗೋಲನ ವೈರಿ ಸುತನಾದ ಸೊಂಡಿಲ ಹೆಮ್ಮೆಯ ಗಣನಾಥನೇ ಕಾಣಮ್ಮ ನಮ್ಮಮ್ಮ ಶಾರದೆ ಉಮಾಮಹೇಶ್ವರಿ ನಿಮ್ಮೊಳಗಿಹನಾರಂಭ ನಿಮ್ಮೊಳಗಿಹನಾರಂಭ. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
Thank you, sir, for the melodious prayer. I request Dr. S.S. Hallikeri, Professor and Head, Department of Agronomy, for the welcome of our distinguished guests, delegates, and special invitees, and the gathering, and also brief introduction of today's chief guest and a special guest. Please, sir.
Good morning, everybody. Respected chief guests and dignitaries on the dais, Dr. Suhas Vani sir, Dr. Bablat sir, Madam Gauri Nayak, Sri Ashok Patil, Srimati Sheila Patil, all the officers of the university, and my dear students and all my dear teachers. Today it is a very auspicious for all of us due to the 102nd birth anniversary of the Dr. S.V. Patil, and we have to remember this great man on this occasion because of his great personality and for his visionary thinking, hard-working institution building, and also because of very high simplicity. So, because of the second foundation lecture we have arranged in commemoration of Dr. S.V. Patil birthday celebration. Okay, and on this day I have a great pleasure to introduce another great personality, Dr. Suhas Vani. So he is delivering a second foundation lecture today, and I am very fortunate and opportunistic to introduce this great personality. Dr. Suhas Vani, he is a multi-talented personality, and I think if I read his entire biodata, I think everybody will inspire, especially for the student community. I think we will make it available to all of you, his biodata. So let it become at least a role model for some of you. Okay. So Dr. Vani, he was a former director, Asia, and funding director, IDC at ICRISAT, India, and also served as a visiting professor of University of Auckland, Edmonton, and a member of the Sustainable Agriculture Advisory Board, SAB, Unilever, United Kingdom. So currently, he serves as the international consultant, Asian Development Bank, Manila, FAO, and IFAD. So he is having a lot of connectivity with so many organizations, and advisory board member for the JSW Foundation and Sahagel Foundation. He is the advisory board member and has contributed 6 strategy papers for PMO, Prime Minister Office, and having a very good connectivity even for politically. So including for DFI, Development Financial Institution, also known as the Development Bank, and soil health mapping. Okay. And he has on his credit nearly more than 600 plus publications. So one cannot imagine so much of publications. It's a very, very difficult task, and just if we see the number of publications, it is really inspiring. And he was awarded by the Government of India, China, and Vietnam, as well as recognized as the 50 most impactful leaders in water and water management. He is a Specially, he is recognized for water management, and today he is delivering a lecture on sustainable water management, business of everyone, challenges and opportunities. Sir, we are very opportunistic to have you as our today's chief guest, and you have, with your so many engagements, you have accepted and ready to give a second foundation lecture. Sir, we welcome you on behalf of the Dr. S.V. Patil Foundation and on behalf of the university, on my behalf, and I cordially invite you. So I call Dr. H.B. Bablad to offer a bouquet to Dr. Vani, sir. Thank you, sir. And we have another special guest today. She is an adventurous lady. Her name is Gauri Nayak from North Canara, Sirsi, Gandhinagar. She is an adventurous lady, and she had done alone dig a open well. During the year of 2016 and 17, there was a severe drought in her area, and she had nearly about more than 200 plants of areca nut and coconut, and it became very difficult for her to protect her orchard. That's why she had decided to open a well. But for that, she had no money. So at least 5 to 6 people are required to open that well. For that also she had no money, but instantly she had decided herself to open the well. And she is so adventurous that she did not told to anybody, even for the society, relatives, and even for her family people, that she is opening the well. And she started that opening the well for every day 3 feet without information. Just you imagine her courage. Every day she get into the well nearly more than 100 times. And opening alone, it's a very challenging. So only because of her change in the behavior, the people and the friend circle, they could able to understand that there is a something. And when it was asked her, she disclosed the secret that she is opening her well. And at last, when all came and see that there was a borewell with at least about in 60 feet, she opened 60 feet, and in that about 8 feet water she had. Now she irrigates water from that. She is a conservator of water resource, and she is recognized and awarded by many government. And I think if our Dr. S.V. Patil like personalities, they would have appreciated such people on this occasion. We just called Gauri Madam for getting felicitation, so she accepted and she came today. Madam, Dr. S.V. Patil ಹುಟ್ಟು ಹಬ್ಬದ ದಿನದಂದು ತಮ್ಮಂತಹ ಸಾಹಸಿ ಕೃಷಿಕ ಮಹಿಳೆ ಹಾಗೂ ಜಲ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ಸಂರಕ್ಷಕರಿಗೆ ಸತ್ಕಾರ ಏರ್ಪಡಿಸುವುದು ಆ ಎಸ್ ವಿ ಪಾಟೀಲ್ರಂತಹ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಪರ್ಸನಾಲಿಟಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಸಂತೋಷವಾಗುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ವಿಚಾರ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ನಮ್ಮ ಕರೆಗೆ ಓಗೊಟ್ಟು ತಮ್ಮ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಬದಿಗಿಟ್ಟು ಬಂದ ತಮಗೆ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಎಸ್ ವಿ ಪಾಟೀಲ್ ಫೌಂಡೇಶನ್ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ಹಾಗೂ ಕೃಷಿ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯದ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ತಮಗೆ ಹಾರ್ದಿಕ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಬಯಸುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಮೇಡಮ್ ಸುರೇಖಾ ಸಂಕನಗೌಡರ್, ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಆಫರ್ ಎ ಬೋಕೆ ಟು ಗೌರಿ ನಾಯಕ್. On this occasion, I also welcome Sri Kotian, board member, honorable board member, UAS Dharwad, for this occasion. So I call Dr. U.K. Hulihalli to offer a bouquet to Sri Kotian. We have a very backbone of the today's function, Dr. Ashok Patil. So Ashok Patil, so he is the person to do all this foundation. He is the son and the engineer from USA. So we have with us, sir, It's our pleasure to have you for the today's lecture, Ashok Patil. So I call upon Sri Dr. Kubsad VS to offer a bouquet to Dr. Ashok Patil. One more guest, Dr. Sheila Patil, daughter of Dr. S.V. Patil, and we are very humble to you, madam, for attending this program, and you are always the backbone of this foundation. I welcome you for this today's second Foundation Day lecture. I call Madam Sudha to offer a bouquet to Madam Sheila Patil. So another, thank you, madam. So today's very important person is Dr. H.B. Bablad. Because of his efforts and continuous thinking, we could able to do this program. I also cordially invite the today's president of the function, Dr. H.B. Bablad, to this second Foundation Day lecture, sir. I invite Dr. Kubsad to offer a bouquet. I also welcome the former Vice Chancellors, Dr. Shilvantar sir, Dr. J.H. Kulkarni sir, and Dr. J.V. Gaud sir. And they are the real encouragers. When they are in the front rows, we all feel we are very much encouraged. Sir, we also welcome you, sir. So I also welcome all the senior teachers, officers, and all my dear students for this second day foundation lecture. Thank you. And I also finally thank the foundation executive body for giving me this opportunity to welcome all the galaxy of these guests on the dais for this program. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, sir, for the welcome speech. I request Dr. S. Rajkumar to welcome Dr. S.S. Hallikeri on behalf of all the audience. Sir? V.S. Kupsa, sir, just you can welcome him, sir. Thank you, sir. I request dignitaries on the dais to inaugurate the program by lighting the lamp, please, sir. Now, floral tributes to Dr. S.V. Patil portrait. I request dignitaries on the dais to offer flowers to late Dr. S.V. Patil ಸರ್ಸ್ ಪೋರ್ಟ್ರೇಟ್. ವಿವಿಧ ಸಂಘಗಳ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರು ಪದಾಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳು ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ S.V. ಪಾಟೀಲ್ ಫೋಟೋಗೆ ಪುಷ್ಪ ಸಮರ್ಪಿಸಬೇಕಾಗಿ ವಿನಂತಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೇನೆ. ವಿವಿಧ ಸಂಘಗಳ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರು ಹಾಗೂ ಪದಾಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳು ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ವೇದಿಕೆಗೆ ಬಂದು ಪುಷ್ಪವನ್ನು ಅರ್ಪಿಸಬೇಕಾಗಿ ವಿನಂತಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಸರಿ ಫೋಟೋ ಪುಷ್ಪ ಸಮರ್ಪಿಸಿದ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. Now, most awaited Foundation Day lecture. I humbly request international renowned scientist Dr. Suhas Vani, former director, ICRISAT, international consultant to ADB, FAO, and IFAD. I humbly request our international renowned scientist for the Foundation Day lecture. Please, sir. Sir.
ಇದು ಫಾರ್ವರ್ಡ್ನ ಸರಿ. Good morning. Good, so you are awake. I am very fortunate to be at University of Agricultural Sciences, Dharwad, for delivering this second memorial lecture for Dr. S.V. Patil, to whom I know as Dean Postgraduate when I was a student. It's very unusual to deliver a memorial lecture for your teacher, and that opportunity I have got mainly so very much thankful to the foundation for giving me this opportunity. I also recognize the dignitaries on the dais, the Honorable Board Member, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, who is not here at the moment, but I spoke with him yesterday night, Dr. Patil, the Dean, the Dr. Sheila, Mr. Ashok, and ex-Vice Chancellors of the University of Agricultural Sciences, Dharwad, as well as the officials of the university, faculty members, and student friends. I will be talking on the sustainable water management, which has to be business of everyone, and what are our challenges and opportunities. I will deal with that. And wherever you think that I am going a little fast, you can always stop me. We live on a planet Earth, and of course, as you know all, that each thing has a boundary, and once you cross that boundary, then you and your existence becomes peril. In such a case, Stockholm Environment Institute has identified 9 boundaries, and by 2009, 3 boundaries were outcrossed, and by 2016, out of 9, 6 boundaries we have already crossed. That means you can imagine, in olden days we used to say there will be pralay, and then the whole earth will disappear, the things will have to start from beginning again, 1 A, B, C, D, like that. So I think that is what, in the scientific terminology, this is explained now, that we are living on the earth not as an owner but as a tenant. And it is our responsibility to hand it over to the next generation in a good shape, which we are not doing at the moment. And that's the thing. Only 3 more boundaries are left. But at the same time, world has really come up and pulled up their socks, and we are starting to work on climate change, greenhouse gases, as well as water management and other things to ensure that we are back within the boundaries what we are supposed to be. Our challenge during the 21st century, the greatest challenge is the water availability and land degradation. The power of these 2 resources is such that if they are not there, the humankind will not be there. The water resource in 1952-53 for India, it used to be 5,000 cubic meters per capita per year. Now it has come down to almost 1,000 cubic meters per capita per year. And once availability comes down below 1,500, then we are referring to the water scarce situation or water scarce country or water scarce region as such. And that is the challenge which we have, that our population is increasing. We are already 1.4 billion, overtaken the China in 2023 itself instead of 2025, and our lands are degraded. More lands are going out of cultivation, maybe for development of the urban areas, as well as the mismanagement of the land resources as such, and that's where we need to worry about it. Climate change is knocking our door. We are already knowing it, the impacts of climate change. Everyone is experiencing unusual rains, unusual colds, unusual floods, unusual droughts, and so on and so forth. As a reason, we have nutritional security coming up, and that's the challenge which we need to make food security, country like India has done exceedingly well from bringing the country from ship to mouth in 1960s, which some of us know what we were undergoing that time. We were standing in the queues of ration shops to get the red wheat and the yellow jawar, which basically in USA they were using it as a cattle feed. And that also did not happen that easily because India commented on US for attack on the on the Vietnam, and that's what basically it happens. But now, today we are in surplus position, our godowns are overflowing, and the job what our annadatas as well as the research scientists, agricultural scientists, and also the policymakers have done have made the India proud to be a surplus food nation as such, and we do not have the issue of food security, but food availability also. Government has tried to provide the free food to more than 100 crores of people, and that's how the international agency says that in India there is no absolute poverty at the moment as such. This is the situation of the country. We have 1150 millimeter average rainfall. We should not feel the difficulty of water availability, but it is the mismanagement of water which is the root cause of the water scarcity in the country as such, and that's where we need to pull up our socks very quickly, and that's why I said in my topic of the today's lecture that water management has to be business of every one of us. From the childhood, we have been taught that water is something, a gift given by the God, and we don't need to worry about it. Our proverbs say like that. For example, we always say that paisa pani jaisa baha rahe ho. That means you are spending the money like water. But now the time has come to reverse this proverb that pani jaisa paisa baha rahe ho. Instead of that, we have to say paise jaisa pani baha rahe ho. Because we have the money, but we don't have the water as such, and that's where the challenge is, that we need to manage our water resources very carefully. This type of news you have seen in the newspapers very often from different parts of the country. Take our gold, but please don't touch our water. Awaiting rain, Visakhapatnam, which is on the coastal area of the Andhra Pradesh, still facing the water crisis, and water supply once in 3 days, says the residents. Even in Hyderabad, in many localities, we get the water in 2 days for 1 hour, drinking water. And that's the situation in many parts of the country as such, and that's where we need to be worried about that sort of thing. Let us look at the challenges or how we mismanage the water. For example, our incomes are increasing, we feel proud about it, but at the same time, the change in the dietary patterns also is associated with the income. As the income increases, we become more non-vegetarian type. We consume more milk, more ghee, more chicken, mutton, and so on and so forth. And the water requirement for non-vegetarian diet and the vegetarian diet to fulfill the calorie requirement of the person is almost 3 times higher in terms of the non-vegetarian diet. Whether it is milk or milk, it doesn't make much difference as such. So that is what is basically happening. If you look at the population of vegetarian and non-vegetarian, you see that non-vegetarian population is increasing and vegetarian population is decreasing as the years pass on, and then that basically results into the water requirement for the food production as such. So more water is required to achieve the food security as such. There are different types of water. which many of us may not know. And that's why whenever we talk about the water scarcity, we talk only of the physical water scarcity in country like India. But in countries in African subcontinent, they have the plenty of water, but they don't have the economic resources to explore that water or use that water, and that is called the economic scarcity of water. And there is an institutional scarcity of water where you have plenty of water, but there are no institutions existing, so you do not get the equal access to the water as such. And that is where we need to look at it. When we look at the water resources as such, most of the time we remember only the blue water, that is water coming from the rivers, canals, wells, etc. But there is a huge amount of green water, that is the rainwater which is stored in the soil as a moisture, is always overlooked. Whether it is a farmer or whether a policymaker, whenever there is a shortage of water, people say, give us the check dam, give us the dam, give us the canal, give us the bore wells, our water problem will be solved. But that is not the case. The green water contributes 2/3 of the biomass produced in this world, largely in the forests as well as the grasslands and also to agriculture as such. But this water is mismanaged, and we do not use the rainwater which is stored in the soil as the soil moisture more efficiently, and that's where our challenge is how to bring in the efficiency in the green water use as well as the blue water use. The third water type available 24/7 is the grey water, that is the wastewater. And in India as well as in many countries, it is considered as a problem rather than a solution. And that's where we can reuse this water with proper treatment. If you go to Singapore, you may not know which water you are drinking in. Is it a treated water, wastewater, or a pure water? Because they do the tertiary treatment of the wastewater and bring it to the level of potable water. But in India, as well as in many of the developing countries in Asia and Africa, the wastewater is directly used by the farmers by diluting with the good water. Sometimes you see that the village drain is going into the well, and then the farmer is pumping up that water and using it for irrigation. And then you and I, sitting in the cities, we eat the vegetables and green vegetables as well as fruits, which may be contaminated with lot of heavy metals, maybe pathogens, and so on and so forth. And that's where we need to be very, very careful that whatever is the grey water available in the villages as well as in the cities is treated. The only example you see that in Bangalore, the grey water is treated and taken up to Kolar, and then there the water is used for agricultural purposes as well as for groundwater recharge. Rest of the places, you don't see that sort of thing happening. The climate change is another issue with us, and when you look at the change, you need to look at the 30 years weather data, and then next 30 years what changes have taken place. We looked at this, and we have found that from 1960 to 1990 and 1990 to 2010, you find that aridity has increased in the areas of Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, and Karnataka. And in such a case, these are the granaries of the country where aridity is increasing, and as the aridity increases, the productivity of the land goes down, because every change in the degree temperature in the environment hastens the process of ripening or maturity for the given crop, and then the yield potential is reduced. And that's where 8.45 million hectare area in India has been added to the semi-arid tropics, which were earlier humid tropics. And that's where our challenge is, that how we are going to manage these areas. Agriculture is a primary consumptive user. 80% of water is used for food production in the country. But do you know that there is no policy, no control over the water as such by the government agencies? There may be some laws in some states, like in Andhra and Telangana, WALTA Act is there, Water, Land and Tree Act, under which you have to take a permission to dig a bore well or to cut the tree and for pollution of the water bodies and so on and so forth, but it is not implemented. And in such a case, we have the challenge basically how we are going to manage the water responsibly without having the policy, because the policy makers, that is the politicians, would like not to touch the agricultural water. And that's why we say free electricity, free water, and everything of that sort. But without looking at the sustainability of the system, we take the decisions for the sake of popularity to get elected, and then whatever has to be done, they do that accordingly. Currently, agriculture is managed in compartments. Department of Agriculture, Department of Horticulture, Department of Livestock, Department of Water Resources, Department of Land Resources, and so on and so forth. Within the Department of Agriculture itself, you will find so many different benches headed by the directors or deputy directors, and these guys will never talk with each other. My scheme is my prerogative. I will decide what to do, what not to do, and that sort of thing. And imagine the poor farmer who grows 3 to 5 crops in 2 acres of land, irrigated as well as rain-fed, derives only 30 to 35% income from the crops. 35% of income comes from the livestock, and then are the allied sector activities like poultry rearing, piggery, goatery, etc. And then remaining 30% comes from the services like MGNREGA and other services where they work as a laborer. Under such circumstances, if the farmer has to seek the guidance from 10 different people for his livelihood, you can imagine the fate of the farmer as such. And that's why farmers don't accept anything, whatever scientists say or extension officers say. They say, I will do what my neighbor is doing or what my father has taught me. And this is not the comment made by me as such. CERES 2030 group, which is an international group, has analyzed more than 100,000 papers published across the world, and they have said that why poverty is not reduced? Because the researchers as well as the research organizations do not work with the small farm holders. Now, who is to be blamed? The research administrators, the policymakers, the publishers of the journal, and the system of evaluation what we have put into the place. Any scientist or teaching person in the universities is evaluated on the basis of how many papers you have published. What is the impact factor of that journal in which you have published? But no one asks that because of your research, how many farmers have changed their practices or adopted your suggestions and solutions? And that's the main thing which happens. The research journals do not accept the papers which are emerging from the on-farm research. Then they say, you don't have required degrees of freedom. You cannot have the replications, what are all required for comparing that, and that's where the thing. They don't believe in t-test, they believe only into RBD and CRBD and split plot designs. And that is the reason why poverty is not reduced. In India, the income of the rural people is only 49,000 rupees, whereas per annum, whereas in the urban areas it is 1 lakh rupees. And now it has increased further. So you can imagine the plight of the farmers in rural areas to whom we call annadatas. Without food, you and I cannot survive in the urban areas, but we don't care about how they produce, how they live, what they need, and all that sort of thing. Another problem which is coming up, few days back I asked this question in Nasik, in the gathering of almost 400 students, where 50% of the students were girls. I asked, how many of you would like to marry a farmer? Not even one hand was raised. And that is the situation of the farming community to whom we call annadatas. So, we have the double standard. We call annadatas when we need the food, but when they need something, we always look at the people who are standing on the lower rostrum in the discussions with us. And that is where the challenge is that if we need the change in the agriculture, we need to provide the holistic solutions to the farmers, and for that, a cultural change is required to be brought in, and every one of us will have to work in that. Business as usual will not work. We need to understand the enemy, that is the water scarcity, climate change, land degradation, low share in price. You will be surprised. What farmer gets is only 30% of what you and I pay in the supermarket. 70% is gobbled up by the intermediaries. And agriculture is the only thing where the producer doesn't have the choice to decide the price of his produce. An industrialist producing a small pin will decide that each pin should cost 10 paisas at least. And you and I will be happily buying that one. But for food, it is the other people who decide the price, not the farmers as such. And that's where the challenge is. And we need to transform the agriculture into a business model. Our agriculture is a sustainable, subsistence level agriculture. It has to become like a business. No businessman will invest in the business if they are not going to make a profit. And that's where the farmer also need to take. And for that, we need to change our thinking, what need to be done. It need to be science-led, demand-driven, evolutionary and mission approach, and it need to converge, build partnership to prosper. Now this is what exactly the CERES team has said, that all the scientists, extension workers work up to this level. Discover, pilot it on the research station, and proof of concept into the villages on a contractual mode. We go to the village, say that 10 scientists, 10 farmers, we will work on your field, we'll put the cost of cultivation, you take the harvest, but we will collect the data. And that is a contractual arrangement. But we do not really look for the impacts, how my technology will be scaled up. And this is the developmental research. Science of delivery is always looked down in the scientific arena. Biotechnology, ICT, these are something, the fields which are changed. But if you talk about agronomy, soil science, and other things, then it is not a science as such, people say. And that's what basically one has to change the mindset, that everything has to work together. The IT fellow does not know how the crop grows, what it needs, and what needs to be done. And that's where we need to work together as such. And that's where science of delivery need to be strengthened. And that's where this gap, because of which all the technologies come and fall into this valley. And this is the death impact valley. the things fall here, and that's what we need to really change as such. Government of India is doing watershed programs from the long time, that was 1972 onwards they started. When we looked at the published research, just like what Ceres team did in 2020, we did this in 1904 or 5. And we realized that less than one watersheds are economically non-remunerative, but 62% of the watersheds were performing below average. And you can imagine when we published this paper, the ears of the policymakers went up. The ICR got annoyed. How is that you can say this? The Planning Commission called us, said that if you say what you say is right, then analyze the whole watershed programs in India. And then we had a meeting with the DDG ICR. He said that, fine, I will call Krida director, and then Dehradun director, and the Jodhpur director. So these three organizations work for the rainfall, different regions. Having low rainfall, Jodhpur works, high rainfall, Dehradun works, and medium rainfall, Krida works. When he asked, what are your suggestions or recommendations for the watershed program, everyone said the same thing. And that is what we said, that this technology is working only for the areas where rainfall is between 700 to 1000 millimeter. Below 700, it is not showing impact. Above 1000 millimeter, it is not showing impact. And that's where in 2012, then the ICR was given the mandate to work for the low rainfall areas and the high rainfall areas. And then we took up the assessment of watershed programs in India, collectively with a consortium approach, including the NGOs, universities, ICR institutes. And that's where then the new policy guidelines, we are aware it was basically a structure-driven approach for the watershed programs, became the livelihood approach as such. The NGOs and the academicians were put on the steering committee for approval and so on and so forth, and that's what basically happens. How to manage water sustainably is to be everyone's business, as I have said. It's a finite resource, and consumptive use of water is 80 to 90% in agriculture. 25 to 35% food is wasted. At that time, we don't worry how much water is required for that. I didn't like the taste, I didn't like the presentation, I didn't like it, so I have paid the money, so I have the right to dispose of the food the way I like it. But if you go into Thailand buffet, and if you pay, you get very cheap. At that time, it was around 200 bahts. But if you leave anything in the plate, you are charged separately. In India, you try to do that, it will not work. In Germany, they tried, and our Indians who were eating the food, they said, I have paid for that. There were 5 people surrounding in that table saying that you may pay for that, but water is used for producing that food, so you cannot waste. Either you take with you or eat or pay for that water. And that's what basically needs to be done. So the solution is, it has to be agroecology based farming, not like everyone wants to grow the paddy. As you know, Punjab and Haryana growing paddy. Paddy used to be a crop for the waterlogged situation. Now we do artificially the waterlogging and grow the paddy, because there is a MSP for the paddy. Once you plant, just spray 2 times and go for harvest, then paddy is yours. And that's where the government is saying that we'll give you the guarantee for 5 years for growing 5 crops, pulses. But farmers are not willing to accept. And that's what basically happens. So we need to have the agroecology based farming, which is not there, produce more food with fewer resources, Concept of agro sub-region has been done by the National Bureau of Soil Survey and Land Use Planning. 180 sub-regions and 20 agro-eco-regions are there. But government of India has really understood what is required because farmers know the language of money, and that's why they are increasing the prices of the coarse grains earlier, which we used to call coarse grain. Now they have become the healthy foods, smart foods, future smart foods, and so on and so forth, which are climate resilient, less water, but farmers can enhance their incomes as such. And market-driven diversification. We still import oil. We do not want to produce oil seeds. We are importing sometimes pulses, but we do not want to produce the pulses. Our godowns are overflowing with rice and wheat. Instead of 1 year, we have 3.5 years stock with the government. But still, every farmer wants to produce rice and wheat as such, and that's where basically the change has to come. So we need to have the farmer-centric watershed as an entry point. Start with the in-situ rainwater management, where maximum utilization of green water can be done, soil moisture, evaporation losses can be minimized so that non-productive evaporation is converted to productive transpiration, so that more produce is there by various means of landform, covering with straw, plastic mulch, etc., and then harvest the excess water as such to store into the ground, which can be used as the supplementary irrigation. And as you know that India is the largest groundwater exploiter in the world. Many of our zones are becoming gray zones for water, blue water, and that's where the challenge is how we want to do that. But water alone can't do it, and we need to take care of soil health, climate smart crops, pest and disease management, markets, storage organization, institutions, and need for integrated approach. For that, basically we need. We call soil as Dharti Mata, but it is just for the sake of calling it. No one has asked that motherland that what is paining you and how I can increase my dependence on your production capacity. We have never used the soil health mapping as such. And Karnataka was the #1 state in the whole country where the soil health atlas was prepared in 2009. And then in 2015, Government of India started soil health card mission as such. But the data which is there on the website, if you look at it, again, having the policy is one thing, but implementation is another thing. Government proposed 30 million samples to be analyzed every year, and total labs in this country are only 117. Even if they work 3 shifts, they cannot analyze 30 million samples. So what happens? Targets, the 100 samples are analyzed, and that data is used to generate for 1,000 fields. And that's what basically happens. Many of the geo points of the samples, if you look, they are falling into the ocean. Because the people who did that sampling never knew the importance of geopositioning and how to do it and what to do it and all that. And that's where basically one has to be very careful. And you need to provide end-to-end solution. Bhuchetna, we did it in Karnataka, and that was also under a situation where government had no choice. 2001 to 2008, government of Karnataka's agricultural growth rate was 1% or below. And then policymakers were saying, why to spend 1,200 crores on Department of Agriculture? We can shut down and give that 1,200 crores to the farmers. And at that time, they were ready to listen whatever we say. And then we were called and we told, government asked, what you will give? I said, I will give you 5% growth in agriculture, provided you do exactly what I ask you to do. That time don't tell me that your secretary doesn't agree and your minister doesn't agree and this and that. Because there was no choice, they agreed for that. They made this steering committee with the additional chief secretary as the chair, all vice chancellors as the committee member, Department of Agriculture, Watersheds and Livestock, marketing directors as the members, commissioners as the member. And the simple thing was, any decision taken in the steering committee today, tomorrow morning, it should reach to the district officials by phone or by email. Forget about your paperwork, you can do that after 15 days. Second thing, availability should be there. You are telling the farmers that you need to apply zinc and boron, but when the rain comes, he cannot run to district place to buy the zinc and boron. It should be available nearby his village. And that's what basically, to hire a godown to store, basically question of 500 rupees per month, but in department it will take maybe 3 months by that time rainy season is over. And that's the sort of solutions one has to provide. And that's where basically we did, and we got 20 to 65% increase in the crop yield wherever we worked. It was only for rain-fed agriculture, but then the irrigated agriculture, farmers started putting pressure on the government. Why not we? Why only rain-fed agriculture? And that's how, by third year, we have to include the irrigated agriculture. All the 30 districts were included, and that's what basically happened as such. And that is the way the solutions need to be provided as such. So we need to improve the soil health through conserving the soil, diversifying the systems with legumes. Monocropping is not acceptable. Organic matter need to be built, and balanced nutrition, as widespread micronutrient deficiencies are occurring. And sometimes the government is responsible for the decisions which they take. For example, in Madhya Pradesh, the use of single superphosphate went out of market because DAP was cheaper. Because of nitrogen, there was a more subsidy on DAP. On phosphorus, there was no subsidy at that time. As a result, they forgot that in single superphosphate, along with the phosphorus, sulfur also is coming up. And you are growing crop like soybean, which is sulfur requiring crop because of the amino acids in that, methionine and cysteine. And then the sulfur deficiency came up in Madhya Pradesh. And that was the policy decision which was responsible for this. And that's where the policy makers also need to listen to the scientists what they are talking about. Climate smart crops. Till few years back, chickpea was the monopoly of the North India because of the temperature during the winter season, longer winter season, so chickpea was to grow very well. But today, if you look at, it is the Andhra Pradesh which is producing the highest per hectare yield of chickpea, which is around 1600 kilograms per hectare, largely because of the short duration cultivars introduced into the region, and commercial farming, like farmers from Andhra Pradesh come, they take on the lease the whole village, do the mechanical planting, mechanical harvesting, and fill the bag with the briefcase with the money and go back. And that's where basically the revolution has taken place. You have heat-tolerant chickpea, heat-tolerant pearl millet, and so on and so forth. So we need the climate-resilient crops. The crop productivity enhancement initiatives like insect control, the diversification, the horticulture are to be required. The integrated pest management. Today you see that 35 years old fellow says, I have a cancer, I have a heart attack. And that is only because what we eat is not healthy. It has the carcinogenic compounds in the food what we eat, the artificial milk which you get and drink, and all sorts of that sort of thing. And that's where integrated pest management is coming up as such. We need to diversify. What we produce is what market needs. If market needs vegetables, you produce vegetables. If market needs fruits, you produce fruits. Not rice and wheat, which are not required by the market as such. And that's where we need to basically diversify. So this can only come when you have the market information. 80 rupees a kilo tomato, farmer sees 80 rupees and then he plants next year tomato in a window where water is available during the rainy season, and in the month of September, August, then the tomato price crashed down to 10 rupees and 20 rupees a kilo. So this information should be available to the farmers, that this is the period when you get 80 rupees and not when you get 10 rupees. Out of 10, he gets only 2 rupees. And then our farmers want to throw the tomatoes on the road. Because of our own creation, we do not take the right decisions at the thing. Wastewater, as we were discussing, need to be really taken as a resource which can be recycled with treatment and used as a valuable resource for recovery of the chemicals as well as different compounds from that. And that's where institutes like NERI in Nagpur, the University of Agricultural Sciences, Harvard also was a partner in the project, India-EU project on wastewater treatment, and the technologies which have emerged have been recommended by the government of India for adoption at the village level. Government gives the money, Panchayat should give the land, and then the wetlands can be constructed as such. So it should be safe reuse, not the untreated water which becomes source of sickness as well as basically the contaminated food we eat. That should not be the case, and that's where water must be treated, and then the problems like mosquitoes and other insects can be avoided, as well as the pollution problem of this. This is the way the constructed wetlands are put together. It is a simple technology for a village where you have 3 chambers, just like our septic tank. Put the layers of gravel, sand, and metal, and then plant the plants in like Canna indica, etc. So it is a phytoremediation along with microbes and mechanical separation, and then the water quality is good for agriculture use as such. And that's where basically one can make use of it. And we have done this in number of villages under the India-EU project as well as the CSR projects. And then the income which comes from this, it can be self-supporting, basically for the women self-help groups who can be using this, and that's what the things have been worked out, that Panchayat Samit gives, the Gram Panchayat gives the land, Government of India gives the money, these women self-help group take care of that constructed wetlands, and there is no maintenance in this, but they can sell the water or grow fodder crops or flower or other things, and then get the interest money out of that sort of thing. High rate transpiration systems for saline soil, saline water are there, which have been developed by the NERI as such, which can be used. So we need to really have the co-creation of solutions, working along with all the partners, not my technology, my solution. It should be our solution, our technologies, our success. That should be the language we should use. But in scientists, you will always see that my paper, my technology, because everything runs into my as such, and that's where it fails. And that's why we should understand that collaborative capacity is far higher than the financial investment capacity. You know the example of Ram Setu, where the monkeys were putting big, big stones and small squirrel was putting small stones into the cracks. Then these monkeys, like our scientists, said, what the hell you are doing here? We are doing so much hard work and you are troubling us and cutting down our speed and etc. But then Rama said, between the cracks of the stones what you put, that poor squirrel is putting the stones so that they should not wash away. And that's the reason that in consortium or in partnership, any contribution from 0% to 100% need to be valued equally. And that's where basically you need to put the authorship alphabetically so that no one gets, the person who has started the experiment gets the senior authorship, but all other authors will be basically on alphabet as such, which difficult for scientists to accept that because of our system of appreciation and evaluation depends on this. Micro enterprises, improving livelihoods, we need to work on value chain. If 70% is gobbled up by the middlemen, then we should try to overtake the jobs of the middlemen, like dal making, vermicomposting, nuclear power addresses production in the village level, cattle rearing, poultry rearing. These are the sources of income for the farmers which can be included into our incentive. And this will only happen when we work in the consortium. Otherwise, I am a breeder, I talk about variety. Rest of the job, government of Maharashtra, government of Karnataka, government of India will do. Department of Agriculture Extension is their job. And you will be surprised that 51% of farmers in this country do not get any extension support, and this is not the data I have generated, this is the National Sample Survey data. The existing ministry staff, extension staff, provides only 11% support to the farmers. Rest of the farmers are supported by the NGOs, private corporates, and peer-to-peer review, information transfer. And that's what basically this National Sample Survey says, that 51% of the farmers do not get any support. Government machinery only provides 11% support because they are all busy with distributing the subsidies, election work, etc. And there is no measure for impact as such of your scheme as such. As I was told by one of my good friend that money flows but not the water flows through the canal. And that's where basically one has to look at that sort of thing, that what is happening in this country as such. So we need to use the new technologies, ICT, for the knowledge dissemination, knowledge delivery, and that's what government is doing. Why government is asking you the Aadhaar and all those sort of things? Your income tax already gets recorded, everything. Anything goes in your bank is recorded. So they give you the sheet. This is your income. So you cannot cheat. Farmers, direct benefit transfer. Money from Delhi comes to the village directly into the bank account. And that's how basically the new technologies can be used to plug the loopholes what are there in the system. For example, using the remote sensing, we could see that where is the water deficit, when and where is the surplus water to be harvested. With climate change, the things have changed. The rainfall intensity has increased, number of rainy days are decreased. But in the watershed management, what do? We use the 50 years, 100 years old data to decide what is the runoff rate and how much water will be generated and that. And as a result, majority of the water which comes during the rainy season goes out of the watershed as such, which should not be the case. And that's where basically we need to use. Intensification of high potential agroecologies. We looked through the remote sensing that there are 11 million hectare area in country left fallow after the paddy season, out of which 6 million hectare area has sufficient moisture to grow a rabi crop. But our social system is open grazing after the rainy harvest crop. And that's where basically no farmers wanted to take the risk. And Government of India, we told that this is how they can work. If they bring in 6 million hectare, and even with 800 kilograms productivity, India will become self-sufficient with 5 million tons of pulses. And within 3 years, Government of India became self-sufficient from 2018 to 2021. And then again, we are entering into the phase of importing the pulses, and then we import the pulses from Bangkok, Africa, Kenya, Australia, Canada, etc. And that's where basically we need to make use of the technologies which are available at our doorstep, which have the capabilities in India as such. New technologies, extension, we cannot reach 142 or 47 million farmers in this country. 85% of those are small farm holders. But almost 85 to 90% of the farmers have the mobile phones with them. 20 to 25% of the farmers have the smartphones in their house. They may be with child, maybe with the father. And that technology we can use for the dissemination of the extension services, and that's where basically Karnataka state drought management system is working as such, and Government of India is also working on that. So we have done groundnut crop sowing advisories, and as I was telling, the power of collaboration. Microsoft wanted to diversify. They came to us saying that we would like to do something with you on the IT. We said, fine. We don't have the expertise in IT. We don't know anything IT except this long form of the IT. They said, we don't know anything about agriculture. You take the agriculture, we take the IT. And that's how then we developed the sowing app for the groundnut crop, where the cost of cultivation, 50% cost is with the seed. And in such a case, if the crop fails, the farmer has to put the seed again. And that's where then we did in the whole district of Kurnool, where the sowing advisories were based on the 30 years of historical data, as well as the current data, the soil type, water holding capacity, etc. So they used the cloud computing, BI, and then given the advisories to the farmer only when some action is required. Otherwise, you and I know many of our WhatsApp messages we don't open even, because there is hundreds of messages coming every day, good morning, how are you, and all that sort of thing. Farmer doesn't have time for that. So only when there is a need for action, the farmer should be sent a message. Then they wait for your message when it is coming, and that's where basically it increased the productivity by 25 to 30%, as well as also the seed cost was minimized, and they became important for the farmers as such. Second thing is irrigation. Our concept is more water, more productivity, but it is not the case. More water, more denitrification, more losses of nitrate, more anaerobic conditions, so plant will not grow, your yield will go down. So required quantity of water can be applied, and as you know that there are ways and means. By sitting at the home, you can put on the pump using your cell phone and put off the pump phone. By doing the simulation modeling, growing the crop on the computer, taking the weather data, one can decide how much transpiration is going, how much water from the soil is lost, and when soil need to be irrigated, and how much it should be irrigated. Farmer doesn't understand 1 millimeter and 5 millimeter. He understands the language that I have 5 horsepower, I have 2-inch pipe outlet, I need to run for 2 hours. So your advice to the farmers also should be in the language which they can assimilate. Otherwise, doing 5 millimeter, apply 5 millimeter, that 5 millimeter remains only in the message as such, because no farmer understands what is that 5 millimeter as such. We need better, faster, and cheaper solutions for the agriculture, where digital agriculture can help. And that's where basically these sort of things using the IT can be done. Every village in Karnataka is available soil health map, which was developed earlier during 2009 to 2012, and then you can use basically output and input and decide how much particular nutrient is required as such. And you can see so many wheels have to work synchronizingly, then only the farmer can get the benefit. It may be market, it may be livestock, it may be allied sector activity, it may be irrigated crop, it may be dryland crop, their market resources, etc., policies, and so on and so forth. And that's what the example of Bhuchetna. $453 million were added to the farmer's income in 7 years in Karnataka, without any additional money from the government of Karnataka. The existing schemes were converged. The authority of the officers giving this particular scheme to particular farmer was taken off, and then end-to-end solutions were provided. And that's where we saw 3 governments, Congress, BJP, and Lokdal, and no government could change the scheme name or the scheme guidelines because there was so much pressure from the bottom up. And that's where basically the scientist importance is there, that we need to build the trust with the farmers, that they should say that we want this and not what you, and that's where basically it works. Same example was adopted by the government of Andhra Pradesh when they saw that something is happening. Mr. Naidu, Chandrababu Naidu wanted 10% growth year on year in agriculture or primary sector. And you will be surprised to just decide the interventions and bringing the convergence in the different departments in Andhra, it took us 9 months, along with the support from the Chief Secretary and the Chief Minister. Then only the secretaries came on the line. Otherwise, X is sent in the one meeting, Y is sent in the another meeting. He says, sir, I don't know what was discussed. We said we don't want that sort of thing. We want one person to be represented by the department who will be taking the responsibility to communicate to his bosses or her bosses, and that's where the thing should be. Responsibility should be taken, not that take away. And 3 years we could get 10% growth in the primary sector. That is agriculture, animal husbandry, as well as horticulture and floriculture department as such. Concept of water unit. Till now, it was good. You have heard about carbon units, but carbon units are used by the companies to find the leeway between the rules and regulations to change the technology. Because changing the technology is more costly than buying the carbon units. So units they can buy from the developing countries like India and then do away with the improved technologies. They continue with the existing technologies, pollute the atmosphere further, and that's where the water units are basically to benefit the farmers. The farmers who adopt the efficient management of water technologies will be rewarded by the sustainable supply chains. If the tomato is not produced in that particular region and the company is buying the tomato for ketchup, and then if that area goes out of tomato, then they have to expand the area. Their cost of procuring the tomato will go up, and that's why sustainable supply chains members will be ready to invest, and it is working at the moment with the sugar cane in Uttar Pradesh, as well as, of course, Mandya is also in the thing, and one of the international NGOs, the Solidaridad, is working on that, and that's where we are trying to value the water. How much farmer should be rewarded for saving that water and producing more using the less water as such. It should be fair, the cost, resource efficiency, demand and supply base. It should be relevant in the currency, time and context, and value for all interest groups. And that's where this was presented also to the G20 meeting, and these are the recommendations which are emerging from that for the water units as such. And that's where we need to find the ways by which the farmers can adopt the efficient water management technologies. Because our extension, it doesn't work, farmer understand the language of money, they do not understand any other language. So we need to be only a central nodal organization, link stakeholders and create a new ecosystem, build partnerships through consortium formation. So I should be kept aside, we should be brought it in, be a facilitator and provide the framework. Access and influence without ownership are important, while maintaining quality, mutual obligations, commitment to contractual relationships, and shared set of values. Impact at bottom of pyramid. Only 15% farmers are above 2 hectares. 85% farmers are below 2 hectares. So you need to work at the bottom of the pyramid, and that's where basically we need to have the who is important than what is important. Have unwavering faith that you can and will succeed in the end. In fact, when I told 5% to the government of Karnataka, my DG was mad at me. He said, what the hell you are talking about? They are working on negative growth rate and you are saying 5%. I said, I have put enough conditions to succeed. I will succeed and show you that we succeed in that. And that became the real project for the institute as such. Culture of discipline. Disciplined people don't need hierarchy. You don't need bosses to control yourself. Your partners will control you. And that's where basically culture of discipline has to be there. Disciplined thought, no need to have bureaucracy. Disciplined action, no need to have excessive controls. Combined culture of discipline with an ethics of entrepreneurship create performance. Get magical alchemy of performances together to have the impact on the ground. Tipping point and continued push, but not a planned restricting technology or a killer innovation will succeed you in that. For that, our values should be farmers first, as Dr. Patil was saying. Farmers are the most important one. We should work for them, and their partnerships are important. Timely delivery and quality output. Any technology which you take onto the farmer's field, above 90%, it should have the success rate. Because failure moves faster than the success. So that we should see that there are no failures on the farmer's field, and that's where this 4 ISEC model, innovative, inclusive, intensive, integrated, sustainable, scalable, socially acceptable, and synergistic, consortium, collective action, capacity building, convergence, economic gain, equity, efficiency, environmental protection. So work tirelessly in silence and let the success make the noise with a bang. That's all I wanted to share with you. I hope it helps you all. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I am free to give, provided there is a time. For your kind information, I am a microbiologist by training, but you must have thought that I am not a microbiologist, I am a macroologist.
Sir, we all are inspired by your great words, sir. Our sincere, heartfelt thanks to you, sir. Felicitation. Students. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು ಕೂತ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಡ್ರಿ ಡೋರ್ಗಳನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ. Now, felicitation to today's chief guest. According to university custom, Atiti Devo Bhava. I request dignitaries on the dais to felicitate today's chief guest, Dr. Suhas Wani, sir. ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಕುಳಿತುಕೋಬೇಕಾಗಿ ವಿನಂತಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತೇನೆ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್. ಇನ್ನೂ ನಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಮುಗ್ದಿಲ್ಲ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ವೆರಿ ಮಚ್ ಸರ್. Now, introduction for today's special guest, Srimati Gauri Nayak, Conservation of Water Resource Specialist. ಮನುಷ್ಯ ಸಮಾಜದ ಋಣವನ್ನು ಹೊತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಮತ್ತು ಅದರ ಋಣದಲ್ಲಿಯೇ ಬೆಳೆಯುತ್ತಾನೆ. ಸಾಯೋ ಮೊದಲು ತಾನು ಪಡೆದ ಸಮಾಜದ ಋಣಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸಿದರೆ ಮನುಷ್ಯ ಹುಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು ಸಾರ್ಥಕ ಎಂಬ ಮನೋಭಾವದ ದಿಟ್ಟ ಶ್ರಮಜೀವಿ ಮಹಿಳೆ ನಮ್ಮೊಂದಿಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರೇ ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ಗೌರಿ ನಾಯಕ್. ಬನ್ನಿ, ಅವ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾವೊಂದಿಷ್ಟು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. ಒಂದು ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಕ್ಲಿಪ್ಪಿಂಗ್. ಸರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು
ತಾಯಿ ಮೂಕಾಂಬಿಕೆಯ ನೆಲೆಯಾದ ಶಿರಸಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಸಿಸುವ ಸಾಧಾರಣರಂತೆ ಕಾಣುವ ಅಸಾಧಾರಣ ಮಹಿಳೆಯ ಸಾಧನೆಯ ಕಥೆ ಇದು. ಆತ್ಮವಿಶ್ವಾಸ, ಸತತ ಶ್ರಮ ಮತ್ತು ಶ್ರದ್ಧೆ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಯಾವುದೂ ಅಸಾಧ್ಯವಲ್ಲ ಎಂದು ಸಾಧಿಸಿ ತೋರಿಸಿದ ಛಲವಾದಿ ಮಹಿಳೆ ಗೌರಿ ನಾಯಕ್.
ಒಟ್ಟು ನಾವು 9 ಜನ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ನಮ್ಮ ತಾಯಿಗೆ. ಹಂಗೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕು. ಅವಾಗ ಮದುವೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಎಂತ ಒಂದು ದೇವಸ್ಥಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಹಾಗೆ ಒಂದು ಮಾಲೆ ಹಾಕಿ ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು. ಅವಾಗ ಕಷ್ಟ ಅಷ್ಟು. 2 ರೂಪಾಯಿ 5 ರೂಪಾಯಿದ್ದು ಕಾಲ. ಅವಾಗ 2 ರೂಪಾಯಿದ್ದೇ ಕಾಲ. 2 ರೂಪಾಯಿಗೂ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು. ಕಡೆಗೆ ಮದುವೆ ಆಯಿತು. ನಮ್ಮ ಮನೆಯವರು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕುಡಿಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಐಸಿ ಅದು ಇದು ಮಾರ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಿದ್ರು, ಬರೀ ಕುಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರ್ತಿದ್ರು. ಅವಾಗ ಈ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಅಭ್ಯಾಸಕ್ಕೂ ತೊಂದರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾನು 5 ವರ್ಷ ಉಳಿದವಳು ಈ ಕಡೆ ಬಂದುಬಿಟ್ಟೆ.
ಇದೊಂದು ಸಾಧಾರಣ ಬಾವಿಯಲ್ಲ. ಗೌರಿ ನಾಯ್ಕ್ ಅವರು ತಾವೊಬ್ಬರೇ ಏಕಾಂಗಿಯಾಗಿ ಅಗೆದು ತೆಗೆದ 60 ಅಡಿ ಆಳದ ಬಾವಿ. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಆಳುದ್ದ ಸಿಹಿ ನೀರಿದೆ. ಅವರು ಬಾವಿ ತೆಗೆದ ಪ್ರಸಂಗವೇ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಸ್ವಾರಸ್ಯಕರ.
ನಾನು 200 ಅಡಿಕೆ ಗಿಡ ನಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೇನೆ, ಬಾಳೆ ನಟ್ಕೊಂಡೇನೆ, ಮತ್ತು ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಒಂದು ತೆಂಗು ನಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನೀರು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ತೆಗೆದೆ. ಆ ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಒಂದು ಗಿಡ ಕಿತ್ತು ನೆಡ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಮಾಡಿದ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಅಲ್ಲಿದ್ದು ತೆಂಗಿನ ಗಿಡ ಹತ್ತಿರ ಆಯಿತು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಕಡೆ ತೆಗಿತಾ ತೆಗಿತಾ ಚಲೋ ಮಣ್ಣು ಬಂದಂಗೆ ಆಯ್ತಾ, ನೋಡೋಣ ಬಾವಿನೇ ಬರ್ತದೆ ನೋಡು ಅಂತ ತೆಗೆದು. ಅವಾಗ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಲ್ಲು ಬಂತು, ಇದು ಬಿಣ್ಚಿ ಕಲ್ಲು 2 ಹಸು ಬಂತು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಏನಾರು ಆಗಲಿ ಭಾಳ ತೆಗ್ದೇನೆ, ಒಂದು 10-20 ಫೂಟ್ ಹೋಗದೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ತೆಗೆದು ನೋಡೇ ಬಿಡೋಣ ಅಂತ ತೆಗೆದ್ನ. ಆವಾಗ ನೀರಿಂದು ಹಸಿ ಮಣ್ಣು ಬಂತು. ಮತ್ತೆ ತೆಗ್ದೆ. ಚಾಣದಿಂದವ ಚಾಣ ಮತ್ತು ಸುತ್ತಿಗೆ ಮುಖಕ್ಕೆ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಟ್ಟೆನ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕಲ್ಲು ಸಿಡಿತದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಬಿಂಚಿ ಕಲ್ಲು, ಹಿಂಗೆ ಬಟ್ಟೆ ಈ ಸೀರೆಯನ್ನು ಹಿಂಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೊಡಿತಿದ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು ಚಾಣ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು. ನಮ್ಗೆ ಬೇಕಷ್ಟು ತ್ರಾಸ ಆಗದೆ. ಒಂದು ಸಲ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸಲಕಿ ತಾಗ್ತು, ಇದು ಮೇಲೆ ಹುಕ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದು ಕಂಬನೇ ಬಿತ್ತು, ಒಂದ್ಸಲ ಕುತ್ತಿಗೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಎಲ್ಲ. ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಂತ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಇವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ರಿ, ಇವ್ರು ಯಾಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ನನಗೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಒಟ್ಟು ಮಕ್ಳಿಗೆ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗಲಿ ಗಣ್ಣಿಗೆ ಕೇಳಾಗಲಿ ಇನ್ನು ನಮ್ಮವ್ರಿಗೆ ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಕೇಳಿ ನನ್ನ ಕೆಲಸ ಯಾವತ್ತೂ ನಾನು ಮಾಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ನನಗೆ ಬೇಕು, ನಾ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು.
ಸಂಘಕ್ಕೆ ಲೇಟಾಗಿ ಅಂದರೆ 6 ಗಂಟೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಸಂಘ ಮುಗಿದ ಮೇಲೆ ಬರೋಳು. ಅವಳು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ಲು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆ ಕೂಲಿ ಕೆಲಸಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಿದ್ದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ಲು.
ನಾವು ಹಿಂದ್ಗಡೆ ಹೋಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಾವಲ್ಲಿ ತೆಂಗಿನ ಮರದ ಹತ್ರ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ರು.
ನಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಹೇಳಿಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಬಾವಿ ತೆಗಿತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ವಿಷಯ. ನಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾವತ್ತೂ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಇವನ್ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಟೈಮ್ ಕೊನೆಗೆ ನನಗೆ ತಮ್ಮ ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ನೋಡು ಅವಳು ಬೆಡ್ದಿದ್ದು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಳೆ, ಬಾವಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ತೆಗಿದಾಳೆ, ಏನಾದರೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆದರೆ ನಂಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗ ನಾನು ಅವಳಿಗೆ ಸಂಡೇ ದಿನ ಬಂದು ಸುಳ್ಳು ಹೇಳ್ದೆ. ಅಮ್ಮ, ನಿನ್ನ ಬಾವಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನೀರು ಬರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ, ಯಾರೋ ಭವಿಷ್ಯ ಜ್ಯೋತಿಷ್ಯದವನಿಗೆ ಕೇಳಿ ಬಂದೇನೆ ನಾನು, ನೀನು ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಮಾಡು ಕೆಲಸ, ನಿಂಗೆ ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ಅಟ್ಯಾಕ್ ಆಗಿ ಸತ್ತೋದ್ರೂ ಹೋಗ್ಬೋದು ನೋಡು, ಬಾವಿ ತೆಗಿತಾ ನೀನು ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಅವಳಿಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಬೇಜಾರಾಯಿತು. ಮತ್ತು ಅವಳು ಆವತ್ತು ರಾತ್ರಿ ಊಟನೂ ಮಾಡಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಮಲಗಿಬಿಟ್ಲು.
ಹಾಸಿಗೆನೂ ಮೇಲೆ ಮಲಗಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಬರೀ ನೆಲದಲ್ಲೇ ಒಳಗೆ ಮಲ್ಕೊಂಡೆ. ಕಡೆ ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ ಬೇಗ 5:15 ಎದ್ದು ಮುಖ ತೊಳೆದು ಮುಚ್ಚಾಕಂದಾಳಲ್ಲ, ನೀನು ಮುಚ್ಚೋದು ಹೇಳಬೇಡ, ತೆಗ್ದಿದ್ದು ಗೊತ್ತದೆ, ಮುಚ್ಚುತ್ತೆ ನಾನು ಬರೀ 2 ದಿನ ಸಾಕು ಮುಚ್ಚಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, 2 ಹಾಕ್ತೇನೆ, ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಇರಂತ ಹಂಗೆ ಬೇಜಾರು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡೆ. ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ 5:15 ಸುಮಾರು ಮುಖ ತೊಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿ ನೋಡ್ತೇನೆ, ಒಂದು ತೆಂಗಿನ ಇದು ಹೆಡ ಕಡ್ದು ಹಿಂಗೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಹಾಕಿಟ್ಟಿನೈತೆ, ಏನಾದ್ರು ಬೆಕ್ಕಿಗೆ ಬೀಳ್ತದೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಅವಾಗ ಸಪೋಟ ಇತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಗಿಟ್ಟಿ ಕಟ್ಟಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಅವಾಗ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಮಾಡಿ ನೋಡುವಾಗ ಇಳ್ದೇನಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದನೇ ನೀರು ಬಂದದೆ. ಅವಾಗ ಖುಷಿ ಆಯಿತು. ನೀನು ಭಟ್ರ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಕೇಳಿಸಿದಂತ ಬೈದಿಯಲ್ಲ, ಬಾ ನೀನು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಒಂದು ಕಾಯಿ ಸುಲ್ಕೊಂಡು ತಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಪೂಜೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದು ಕಡೆಗೆ ಒಂದು 4 ದಿನ ಬೇರೆಯವ್ರಿಗೆ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡೆ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕೈ ಜಾರ್ತದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ನಾನೇ ತೆಗ್ದೀನಿ, ಬೇರೆಯವ್ರಿಗೆ ಇಳಿಸ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಬಾವಿಗೆ ಇಳಿಸ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಮಣ್ಣು ತೆಗಿಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು 2-3 ದಿನ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ತೆಗ್ದೆ. ಒಂದು 10-15 ಫೂಟ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ತೆಗ್ದೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಚಲೋ ನೀರು ಬಂತು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಗಿಟ್ಟೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಿದೆ.
ಚಿಕ್ಕಂದಿನಿಂದಲೂ ಗೌರಿ ನಾಯ್ಕ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡುವ ಹುಚ್ಚು. ಈ ಭೂಮಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹುಟ್ಟಿದ ಮೇಲೆ ಬದುಕು ಸಾರ್ಥಕವಾಗಬೇಕಾದರೆ ಸದಾ ಕಾರ್ಯನಿರತರಾಗಿರಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನುವುದು ಅವರ ಸಿದ್ಧಾಂತ.
ಮನೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಕೂಲಿ ಕೆಲಸನೂ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂಥದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಬಾವಿ ತೆಗಿದಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಹೇಳುವಂಥ ಮಾತೇ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಬಾಯಿ ಮಾತು ಅಲ್ಲ ಅದು. ಅಂಥದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂಥ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಸಾಧನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಇಂಥ ದಿವಸದಲ್ಲಿ. ಬೇರೆ ಹೆಂಗಸರಿಗೆ ಇದು ಒಂದು ಮಾದರಿ.
ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೆಣ್ಮಕ್ಳಿಗೂ ಹಾಗೆ ತೆಗಿಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಹೆಣ್ಮಕ್ಳಿಗಂತೂ ಗಂಡಸ್ರಿಗೂ ಒಬ್ಬರಿಗೆ ತೆಗಿಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ, 2-3 ಜನ ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅವರೊಬ್ಬರೇ ಕಷ್ಟಪಟ್ಟು ತೆಗೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
ನಂತರ ಖುಷಿಯಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಮಾಧ್ಯಮದವರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳಿ ಕರೆಸಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅವರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ಇದು ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ.
ಸಾಧನೆ ಇದ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಸನ್ಮಾನ ಹುಡುಕಿಕೊಂಡು ಬರುತ್ತದೆ. ಗೌರಿ ನಾಯ್ಕ್ ಅವರನ್ನು ಅರಸಿಕೊಂಡು ಅನೇಕ ಪ್ರಶಸ್ತಿಗಳು ಬಂದಿವೆ, ಇನ್ನೂ ಬರುತ್ತಿವೆ.
ಸುವರ್ಣ ಟಿವಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಸುವರ್ಣ ಸಾಧಕಿ ಅವಾರ್ಡ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಚಿತ್ರದುರ್ಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಶರಣರ ಮಠದಲ್ಲೂ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಶಸ್ತಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾಮದಾರಿ ಸಂಘದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಪುಟ್ಟ ಮಹಿಳಾ ಸಂಘದವರು ಕೂಡಿಸಿ ಬಿಸಿಲುಕೊಪ್ಪದಲ್ಲಿ ಮೊನ್ನೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ರು ಪ್ರಶಸ್ತಿ. ನಮ್ಗೆ ಖುಷಿ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಕಷ್ಟಪಟ್ಟು ಕಾಲಿಗೆ ಚಪ್ಪಲ್ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಒಂದು ಮನೇಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇವತ್ತು ಅವರನ್ನು ಅವರೇ ಗುರುತಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋ ಮಟ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಅವ್ರು ಬೆಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂದರೆ ನಮಗೂ ಖುಷಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅವಳ ಶ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಹೆಡ್ಸ್ ಅಪ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ.
ನಾನು ಸಣ್ಣ ಇರುವಾಗಿಂದ ಒಂದು ಆತ್ಮವಿಶ್ವಾಸದಿಂದ ಈ ಭೂಮಿ ಮೇಲೆ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾನು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ. ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗಿಂತನೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ನಾನು ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆ ಎದ್ದು ಕೂಡ ಏನಾರು ಒಂದು ಎಳೆದು ಬರಬೇಕು, ಒಂದು ಹುಲ್ಲಾರು ಕೀಳಬೇಕು. ನನಗಿಲ್ಲರ ಜೀವಕ್ಕೆ ಸಮಾಧಾನ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಗಂಡ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯದು ಕಾಣಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಏನಾದ್ರು ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ.
ಮಹಿಳಾ ಸಬಲೀಕರಣ ಎನ್ನುವುದು ಕೇವಲ ಘೋಷಣೆಯ ವಾಕ್ಯವಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ನಮ್ಮ ನಡುವೆಯೇ ಕಂಡುಬರುವ ಸಂಗತಿ. ಆ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಗೌರಿ ನಾಯಕ್ ನಿಜವಾದ ಸಾಧಕಿ.
ಮೊಸರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ತುಪ್ಪ ಕಡಿದಾಗ ಅನುಭವಕ್ಕೆ ಬರುವಂತೆ ಓದಿ ತಿಳಿದರೆ ಕೇಳಿ ಕಲಿತರೆ ಸಾಕಾಗದು, ಅನುಭವ ಆದಾಗಲೇ ಬಾಳಿಗೆ ಬೆಳಕಾಗುವುದು. ಅಂತಹ ಅನುಭವಿ ಮಾತೆಯ ಒಂದೆರಡು ಮುತ್ತಿನಂಥ ಮಾತುಗಳು ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗಾಗಿ.
ಅಂದರೆ ನಾವು ಮೊದಲೇ ತೆಗೆದಿದ್ದು ಬಾವಿದು ಹೇಳಲ್ಲ, ಶಾಲೆ ಹತ್ರ ತೆಗೆದಿದ್ದು ಹೇಳಲ್ಲ,
ಏನು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅನುಭವ?
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ಗೌರಿ ಚಂದ್ರಶೇಖರ್ ನಾಯ್ಕ್ ಅಂತ. ನಾನು 6 ವರ್ಷದ ಹಿಂದೆ ನಮ್ಮದು ಅಡಿಕೆ ಗಿಡ ಒಂದು 225 ನಟ್ಟಿಂದಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನೀರಿನ ಕೊರತೆ ಆಗಿ ಒಂದು ಬಾವಿ ತೆಗೆದೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ 1.5-2 ತಿಂಗಳ ತಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಫುಲ್ಲು ನೀರು ಬಂತು. ಆವಾಗ ಲಾಕ್ಡೌನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ಯಾವ ಕಡೆನೂ ಹೋಗಂಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಯಾರ ಮನೆಗೆ ಹೋಗಂಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಮಾತಾಡೋಂಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಮನೇಲೇ ಇರಬೇಕು, ಕೆಲಸನೂ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮನೆಗೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಬಾವಿ ತೆಗೆದೆ 50 ಫೂಟಿಂದು. ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ನೀರು ಬಂತು. ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ ನನಗೆ ಸಂಘ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಮತ್ತು ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಇಲಾಖೆ, ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇಲಾಖೆ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಇದರಲ್ಲೂ ನನಗೆ ಕರೆದು ನನಗೆ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಸನ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಆ ಸನ್ಮಾನಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ ನನಗಾಗಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯಿಂದ ಸನ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು ಸಮಾಜಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಈಗ 25 ದಿನ ಆಯಿತು. ನಮ್ಮ ಮನೆ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಅಂಗನವಾಡಿ ಶಾಲೆ ಉಂಟು, ಅಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಬಾವಿ ತೆಗಿಬೇಕಂತ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು 5-6 ದಿವಸದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ನೀರು ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಈಗ 25 ದಿನ ಆಯಿತು ಅದನ್ನು ತೆಗಿಲಿಕ್ಕತ್ತೀವಿ. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಬರ್ರಿ ಸಿರ್ಸಿಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಬಾವಿ ನೋಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ.
ಆಯ್ತಮ್ಮ, ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ತೆನೆ ಬಿಟ್ಟ ಪೈರು ಗೊನೆ ಬಿಟ್ಟ ಬಾಳೆ ಬಾಗುತ್ತದೆ. ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಮಾನವನು ಸಹ ಇತರರಿಗೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯದು ಮಾಡಿ ಸತ್ಪ್ರಜೆ ಆಗಿ ಬಾಗುವುದೇ ಸದ್ಗುಣ. ನಮ್ಮ ಕೃಷಿ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತಿಯಂತೆ ಆಶಾಜೀವಿ ಶ್ರಮಜೀವಿ ಮಾತೆಗೆ ಗೌರವಯುತ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ಸನ್ಮಾನ. ಸನ್ಮಾನಿಸಿದ ಗಣ್ಯರಿಗೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. From Dr. S.V. Patil Foundation has been organized quiz competition and winners will be announced now. And secondly, late Dr. S.V. Patil sir is very fond of crop production course. So maximum marks scored in the crop production course, they'll get a prize today. So now prize distribution, I'll announce the names. Highest score is highest score in practical crop production and experimental techniques course of agronomy for 2021 is backed by Mr. Sachin B. Holal. Rupees 1,000 rupees cash prize and a certification. I request dignitaries on the dais to distribute a cash prize and a certificate, please, sir. To Mr. Sachin B. Holal. And in the quiz competition, first prize backed by 2 students. First one, Mr. Shivanand Itnad, final years BSc Agri. Mr. Shivanand Itnad. And again, one more person, Mr. Bindu Chaudhary, MS, junior MSc Agri agronomy student. Both shared the first place, Mr. Shivanand Itnad and Mr. Bindu Chaudhary. And second place is backed by Mr. Sai Kumar, Junior MSc Agri, Agronomy Department. Second place backed by Mr. Sai Kumar. Thank you, sir. Now, presidential remarks. I request Dr. H.P. Bablad, Vice President of Dr. S.V. Patil Foundation, Dean Agriculture and Campus Head for the presidential address. Please.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. Good afternoon to everyone. It gives me an immense pleasure on this auspicious occasion of 102nd birthday of legendary scientist and an institutional builder, and also the second Dr. S.W. Patil Foundation Day lecture. And today's chief guest for this, Dr. Suhas Wani, former director, ICRISAT, and consultant for several international organizations, FAO, ADB, IFAD, and Dr. Ashok Patil, son of Dr. S.V. Patil, Madam Sheila Patil, daughter of Dr. S.V. Patil, sir, Honorable Board of Management, Sri Srinivas Kotan, Srimati Gauri Naik, an achiever, Dr. Halikeri, Professor and Head, Agronomy, and today's among the galaxy of our seniors, our former Vice Chancellor, first Vice Chancellor, and always blissful, Dr. J.V. Gaud, sir, Madam J.V. Gaud, and former Vice Chancellor of U.S. Bangalore, and the esteemed member, founder member of the Dr. S.V. Patil Foundation, Dr. M.N. Silvantar, sir, and Dr. J.H. Kulkarni, sir, a former Vice Chancellor, and former officers and well-wishers of this great university, Dr. R. Parameshwarappa, sir, Dr. B.M. Khadi, sir, Dr. G.K. Hiremat, Dr. Dasog, sir, and Dr. Bharamagodar, and our senior officers, Dr. C.S. Unshal, sir, is here, Dr. Channal, Dr. B.N. Patil, sir, Dr. Madiwalar, and all our officers of the university, and all the esteemed members of the Dr. S.V. Patil Foundation, and all our faculty members and all supporting staff, and student friends, and all media friends. So this is a great occasion on behalf of the university, on behalf of my own. That is, I thank everyone for with us as to participate in this second Foundation Day lecture. And as a dean and as a vice president of the foundation, I am very much thankful on this occasion to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. P.L. Patil. In his absence, he is a source of inspiration, and he has meticulously planned and guided us in organizing this important event. That is second Foundation Day lecture, but we are missing him in his, as he has to attend the Vice Chancellor's annual conference at New Delhi. So I thank him, but he told, so I'll be watching live on YouTube. So I thank him on my own behalf and on behalf of the foundation. On this occasion, I also thank Dr. Ashok Patil. He is an engineer, aeronautical engineer, and who actually resides in US. But he made it to be here during his father's birthday. So he is with us. And I thank you, sir, for making this event successful. And also I thank Sheila Patil, daughter of Dr. S.C. Patil, and his family members for their participation. And this second Foundation Day lecture, actually we had organized here, that is to commemorate his 102nd birth anniversary. So Dr. V.S. Patil, sir, he is a very great personality, a legendary agronomist, a scientist, and even academician. And he is a visionary. Actually, he has built the institutes here in this great campus and in other campuses. And he is always farmers friendly. And to actually, along with celebrations as a Foundation Day, actually this is arranged actually to create awareness, educate our students, faculty, by organizing such a foundation lectures. So with this, that is his vision will come true, that is, and he is always aimed at creating a better growth, development, and a sustainability in agriculture. And he always feels that farmers should be happy and their better livelihood always. So in this occasion, we are organizing this Foundation Day lectures also. So I am very proud to say that this foundation has completed 1 year almost, and to have to meet, or you can say that is to make the Dr. S.C. Patil's foundation a more dynamic and more vibrant. So we all, that is, made efforts in getting 2 projects actually. That is, one, as our chief guest told, just we have to think of more of farmers participatory and ecology-based farming need to be developed, or we have to need to transform present conventional systems to ecological agriculture and more of ecology-based farming systems. So with that, we got 1 project on evidence-based agroecological models of production to marketing with farmers' organization on production and economics of agroecological farming in collaboration with one organization, that is ECOWA, International Competence Center for Organic Agriculture, Bangalore, supported by the agroecological transformation process in India, SAUTI project, that is funded by Germany. So that is the one project in which we have already appointed 5 research fellows, and they are working in 56 farmers' fields. That is, we have selected agroecological farms of 56, and we are constantly monitoring these sites, and also we are providing many of our agroecological interventions into it so that the farming should be made more sustainable and eco-friendly and economical to the farmers. So this is the one project being started recently, about 1.5 months back. And another project, the Dr. S.V. Patil Foundation has taken up, that is as a nodal agency for evaluation of FPOs, which is supported by SFAC, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Government of India. So that's also we are now initiated. So these 2 programs, I think that is being taken up through the foundation as a part of foundation activity. And I am very much thankful to Dr. Suhas Wani for accepting our invitation and delivering a very comprehensive and present day need, that is mainly the topic, that is sustainable water management, business of everyone, challenges and opportunities. So his talk is of having full of information, that is informative with more of statistics, analysis, and also it creates a lot of vision, that is, and ideas among our students and our faculty members. So I am not go into his talk, it is already time, but he stressed the per capita availability of water is declining very fast. It is during independence, it is more than 5,000 meter cube per year annually, but it has reduced to almost the 802 meter cube in 2022 as per the national report. So this is alarming what we have to think, and only 1/6 of the water resources are available. This is because it may be the increase in the population, but the efficiency, that is proportionate to population growth, the availability of water has declined to a greater extent. That is almost only 1/6 of the water resources are available as you compare with during independence. So that is, even though we are receiving almost 1,500 odd, that is millimeters of water across the country, an average rainfall. So this is where we have to think, that is mainly the soil and water. He stressed a lot on soil and water conservation. These 2 among the Pancha Mahabhutas, they are degrading very fast, and our soils have lost its capacity to absorb the water, to hold the water, and drain the water through that, so that our water, that is the groundwater resources, can be charged. That is greater challenge against us, as he stressed. So especially the soil structural capacity and other things are being degraded. So this is where we have to think, and even present, in Karnataka, we are facing a severe drought. Out of 236 taluks, that is in the state, almost 216 have been declared as drought hit areas. So almost 90% of the state is under drought this year. So most of our water bodies are dried. So we are facing, so under such circumstances and situation, the talk which has been given by our chief guest is timely, and we'll all, that is, we have to think, that is in this direction, how to improve upon our water resources as well as the quality of the soil. So on behalf of all the students and faculty, I thank you very much for your nice talk. And one more, that is in this program. Most important one is ಸಾಧಕ ಮಹಿಳೆ. ಸೊ ಒಬ್ಬಂಟಿಯಾಗಿ ಅವರು ಏನು ತಮ್ಮ ತೋಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾವಿ ತೆಗೆದು ಅದನ್ನು ಸಂರಕ್ಷಣೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಅವರು ಬೇರೆಯವರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಸ್ಫೂರ್ತಿ ತುಂಬಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಗಣೇಶ್ ನಗರ ಸಿರ್ಸಿಯಿಂದ. ಸೊ ನಮ್ಮ ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟಿವ್ ಕಮಿಟಿ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಎಮ್ ಸೀಲ್ವಂತರ್ ಸರ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಫೌಂಡರ್ ಮೆಂಬರ್, ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಹೀ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಬ್ರಾಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಐಡಿಯಾ ಟು ಫೆಲಿಸಿಟೇಟ್ ಆರ್ ಸನ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಇಂಥ ಒಬ್ಬ ಸಾಧಕ ಮಹಿಳೆಗೆ ಅಂಥೇಳಿ. ಸೊ ತಾವು ಕೂಡ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸನ್ಮಾನವನ್ನು ಸ್ವೀಕರಿಸೋದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಗೌರಿ ನಾಯಕ್ ಅವರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೃಷಿ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯದ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದಂಥ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನು ಅರ್ಪಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಐ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ one and all. I will not take much time. So this is the concluding, that is the second foundation day. So I thank one and all for your gracious presence, especially our senior teachers and all the officers and all the students. I thank you one and all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for the presidential address. To propose vote of thanks, I request Treasurer Dr. S.V. Patil Foundation as Dr. U.K. Hulihelli.
With the S.V. Patil Foundation, we are very grateful to Dr. Suhas Wani for his thought-provoking lecture on sustainable water management. And we also thank the son of Dr. S.V. Patil, Sri Ashok Patil ji, and the daughter Sri Sheila Patil ji for their gracious presence on this function. And we also thank Srinivas Kotan, our Honorable Board of Member, to grace this function. And with the S.V. Patil Foundation members, thank the Gauri Nayak, Madam Gauri Nayak, for his courageous work carried out to store the water or conserve the water. We also thank Babla sir, is a vice president as well as the Dean Agri. We also thank Dr. Hallikiri, HOD of Agronomy Department, also the organized secretary of this foundation. We also thank the former vice chancellor, Dr. Seelvantar, Dr. J.V. Gaud sir, Dr. J.H. Kulkarni sir, and all the officers of the retired officers of the university, present officers, all the retired teachers, the disciples of Dr. S.V. Patil, and all other students and all the invitees. We are also thankful to one and all.
One small announcement. Actually, now general body meeting of Dr. S.V. Patil Foundation is there. So I request all the members of Dr. S.V. Patil Foundation to stay back in the same auditorium. After that, for the lunch is organized at University Guest House for the members of Dr. S.V. Patil Foundation and officers of our US Dharwad and special invitees. Thank you, sir.